Definitely.
We are dying.
The most definitely.
You are dying.
It's a way to be like, okay, we do know that depression is common when 1, 2, 3 happens, when 1, 2, 3 is up.
Than God, run straight to your Bible, get on your knees and pray.
About King David in Psalm 42, verse 11. King David is talking to himself. He's saying, my soul, why are you sad and Welcome to At the Table with Christel. My name is Christel Nzebambuyamba, and I'm very excited to have you here. I've got some awesome young people in the studio today, and I'm very excited to host them. You will discover them in a moment because we're going to be discussing a very interesting topic, and we have to tackle it in one way or another, spiritually, with our knowledge, through literature. We just have to learn more about this calamity. Therefore, today, I want to focus more on the youth because, like it or not, or believe it or not, the youth today is getting affected. And before we dive into the topic, I'm going to introduce to you my very special guests. Can you please introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Carmel, first year university student, finance at that. I love art. I draw a lot. I make music sometimes. I love philosophy. I love Afrocentrism. So that's books, documentaries, all that. All hands on that. And we're out here.
That's beautiful. Thank you for coming to the studio, Carmel. And
hey guys, my name is Hope Lekane. I'm a second year university student. I am a very introverted yet can be extroverted person. And I like beauty stuff sometimes.
yeah.
Sometimes
Always,
sometimes
always.
you need to be ipara. Like you can't always be good. There's that moment where you need to look like a para, but you'd hardly see me as a para. But it's just me.
Thank you. In a nutshell, thank you, Hope.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Richie. Okina, I go by many titles. I'm currently transitioning to my last year in secondary school. I love art and creativity, not only as a concept, but as an idea and a way of living. I love art, music, drawing, all types of it. And I'm very grateful to be here. I really love technical things, like technical drawings. I love engineering, which is very funny because I'm not really calculated like that. I'm very spontaneous. So, but that's me in a short phrase. But I'm grateful to be here and welcome.
That's very beautiful. Thank you for a wonderful introduction, and we're very excited. We cannot wait to discover more about you guys because I believe that you represent the youth worldwide and even just in the country, your suburb, wherever you live, your school, university, you are representing the youth. And I believe that by just watching you guys, a lot of people can really learn and tackle this calamity that we go through every day, which is depression. They say we cannot reinvent the wheel, but surely we can learn something from the way people do things every day, and then it seems like we have reinvented a wheel.
That's true.
Thank you so much for being here and for the sacrifice to gracing us with your presence in the studio. Tell me, young lady and gentleman, is there such a thing as depression in the youth?
Definitely.
Because we often speak about depression with the adult, the mature people, but with the youth, not so much. Does depression exist among the youth?
I think most definitely. I believe in the olden days, depression is more seen as like a myth or more of like a Western topic, especially in the African community. It's not something that was really focused upon. It wasn't like a focal point to pinpoint. But now, with the more digital modern era, in which, non-coincidentally, the youth is more accustomed to, it's more so evident in the youth that depression is for sure around, because they're exposed to this knowledge, they're exposed to these things where they can come out and actually be aware of what depression is, and they can pinpoint to say for sure that, oh no, I think I have this. I have this. And back then it wasn't as popular to admit that depression is around and people have it. But most definitely, I do think depression exists.
And among the youth as well?
Especially amongst the youth.
Especially?
It's most evident.
Definitely.
We are dying.
The most evident.
You are dying. Please tell us about the dying.
I personally,
Tell us more.
I wouldn't say I sit down and look at myself and say, okay, I'm depressed. I'm booming. I just don't mind. But I can look at someone and be like, my friend, you're going through it.
You are
But
dying.
it's not easy to go to someone and say, when you're going through it. But
Yeah.
things that a person does, you can see that along the way. But what can I say? Sometimes it does happen that you are depressed. Like personally, I do get depressed. And it's only a few days ago that I realized that, okay, when I do this and this and this, I might be going through my depression era. But it's just so difficult for me to literally sit down and say, what's depressing me? But then when I think what could be depressing me, and then you'll find that it's just a little thing that happened in a spur of a moment that just ticked me off, and then I just go into that mode. And then for me to come out of that mode, I know what needs to happen, but something does happen for you to just go,
exactly.
oops, just out of the box.
And that's true, because like as you say, like it's just something. It all it needs is that channel for that emotions to
open
evoke,
up,
like to activate. Yeah, like it doesn't really take much, but then the outcome of it is a lot, you know, because the beginning of it will be something small, but then that could have been like your final reason, you know, subconsciously things may have been, you know, stacking up in your mind. And then that channel is the one that now causes you to be like, yo, you know what, this is how I feel. I don't feel good. And I feel like that's why we also need to like regulate these conversations, because as she said, she would be like, she doesn't know what has to be done in order for her to get out of that state, but eventually she does.
Right.
So when these conversations happen, we can be able to communicate, and then we'll always find a pattern in these things. And from the patterns, we can construct a way to be like, okay, we do know that depression is common when 1, 2, 3 happens, you know, when 1, 2, 3 is about to happen. And then with that and us forming as a community to be able to talk about this will help us in all ways, you know, to tackle it in our own respective, you know, places. Yeah.
And to add on his point of where he's like finding the relation between like the consciousness and depression. Like I mentioned before, like I really love music, so I'm very like I analyze a lot of these things. And one of my favorite songs, there's a saying that goes, it takes a mind to worry, but a conscience to feel ashamed. So in that sense, what I'm taking from it is the moment your consciousness tells you that you should acknowledge the depression, it now affects you. And that's the channel that he was referring to. It just needs, depression is like a symbiote. It needs a host. It needs someone to acknowledge that it exists for it to have power. So the moment you
totally
denounce depression, or not to say that it's as easy as that, but like when you start to take the steps to denounce depression and to not acknowledge it, that's the beginning of the breakthrough from the depression.
By hearing you guys, I can tell that you've had your share with depression, because you cannot just be talking from theory point of view. Can you share, how does depression feel like? I hear emotions, feelings. Can you just describe to us how depression feels like?
I think
How do you know that you're depressed? How do you know that you're going through a depression?
I mean, it's when I hit people.
You hit them.
I hate when I hate. No, it's when I hate people.
Oh, when you hate
hate them.
people.
Yeah, I get it.
Everybody, like
Yeah, like
Everyone annoys you for no
for
reason.
no reason. Like
Yeah.
I just don't want anyone breathing near me. I don't know if it makes sense. Like, okay, like practical speaking, at home, fine, there are days where we're gonna play music. I wouldn't mind, I'm okay. My mom would watch Netflix. Like the Rookie, she loves it. And then the guns start go pa, 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 pa. And I'll be like, Mama, the TV's making noise. She'll be like, I'm like, put it on 3, 4, 7. It's gonna be fine.
So in other words, you're feeling tensed all the time.
Like,
Do you
fine.
think that's like an act of depression, or
I
it's
don't
just
know.
how you just being
It's
impulsive?
just me. It's just me being me.
Oh, okay.
And for the fact that whenever we're watching something, she comes home from work, she's like, hey guys, can I watch The Rookie? And then I'm like, okay, after this episode, she's like, you were at home the whole day. Yeah. She just becomes a black parent. And then I'll be like, okay, watch. 3 minutes, I'm like, can you lower the volume? I don't know, but it normally happens like that. And then she doesn't lower the volume. And then I'll go to my room, switch off the light. Okay, I know I don't switch on the light in my room. It's always dark. I don't want anyone switching on the light. If you can't see, open your eyes or just switch on your torch. Just don't leave the door open.
Those are one of
Don't
the
switch on the
signs,
light.
yes.
I just want it dark,
Dark
like
and
pitch black
quiet.
and quiet.
So, like, how do you differentiate when you're just in a bad mood and when you actually
That was
depressed?
my next question.
When
How
I'm
do
in
you
a bad mood,
distinguish
I
between
become angry at
anger,
everyone.
sadness?
I don't become sad. I just become angry and
Angry.
cheeky.
So I guess there are many expressions of
I feel
the
sad.
depression,
Sometimes
yeah.
I
It's like a
don't know
spectrum.
if
It's
it's
a
depression or what.
spectrum,
It's a
yeah.
spectrum.
Really
yeah.
wide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just know once I sit in the dark, alone, in the quiet, when you call me, I'll be fine.
How often does the episode last when you're feeling like that?
Now, I don't allow it to last for more than an hour or 2. I don't allow it.
So, do you just call it a depressive episode?
Yes. Hence, I say it's just a few days when I was like, okay, this is what I do when I'm depressed or getting in that space of depression. Sit in the dark, and then when you call me, I'll be fine. But I just don't know what happens in that moment
In
when
that
I'm
moment
alone,
when
in
you're
the quiet, in the dark.
And
But
then-
when you just call me, I'll be like,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
and then I'm fine.
Yeah.
But you know,
So-
an hour ago, I was just mad
So
at
in
you.
your family, people know that when you're like that, you're going through a depression.
No,
No,
they think I'm moody.
you're moody. So how do you rescue yourself from such a state? How do you come out? Do you just tell yourself that, okay, people must leave me alone in my dark room where it's quiet?
I feel like
Yeah.
they now understand. Like even my little brother, when he enters the room, I will say, close the door and talk to me. Even if he's like, come eat. You can't say come eat while you're standing with the door open. Enter, close the door and say come eat, then get out. I'll decide if I wanna come eat. They know now. I'm sure they know.
Okay.
I'm sure they know now.
And then my question is, how do you come out?
I
Of
don't
this,
know.
you
I
don't
just
know.
sit there,
You-
quiet.
quiet.
You call me.
Yes.
If I come out, I come out. If I don't come out, I'll just say, yeah.
So most of the time, the episode gets finished without even you being aware that, okay, the depression is gone. What are
just
the
happens.
personal efforts that you actually do for you to win this fight of depression?
I mean, I won't lie. I won't lie to you. There's this
Because there
thing-
are people that actually enjoy that.
I also
They
enjoy
tell
sitting in the dark. That's the thing.
Yeah, they tell themselves that, okay, this is me. I'm going through what I'm going through.
Right,
People just need to leave me. I want to die alone. This is my problem. Do you actually desire to fight and win the battle?
I don't know. I just don't, when I'm in that moment, I just let myself be. I just don't say, okay, I'm gonna sit here for an hour. No, I'll just let myself be. If I'm gonna be in the dark, let me be in the dark until a certain time. Because most of the time, when I enter my room, I'll be holding my phone. Fine, it's 3:30 at night. Okay, PM. I'll put my phone at the charger, and then I'll be like, no, man, let me stand up. Okay, fine, it's 4:30 now. That's when But sometimes when I just don't want to be in the dark, I will maybe read a PDF novel and just
Yeah, reading is a
They
good therapy
dream.
as well.
Yeah, I just don't know how I cope, but I cope.
You
There's a
cope.
lot of things that I do unaware that I'm doing, and there's some things that I do aware that I'm doing. I don't know if you get me, but that's
Yes.
just how my. And another thing, I hate music nowadays, but I love music as well.
Okay.
I'm
So
just
you
so
are in between.
complicated. I'm so complicated that I myself sometimes will Google my symptoms and then they'll be like depression. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
uh-uh.
It can be. It can be, but
It
deep
can.
down you know that it is.
Sometimes I'll be like, yeah, when something bad happened and then I just resort to that. That's when I'll be like, okay, fine, ngiyangena sharp.
Yeah. But does it ever cross your mind to talk to a friend, someone that you trust, or family?
I
you know,
tried,
a
but
pastor,
I won't lie
therapist.
to you, ne? I tried that, ne? And then I tried it with my mom, to be specific, ne? And then when we're talking, it's fine. She goes in the right direction. I see she's starting to understand. Then she says something, and I'm like, it was useless.
It turns you off,
Ah,
or
it's
you feel
useless.
like you're not getting the help that you should.
I feel
be
like
getting.
I don't know. Sometimes I just want to hear what I want to hear, not what it is. I feel like hearing what I want to hear will kind of like, okay, fine. But sometimes I just hear something that I don't want to hear, and then I'm like, it's pointless. I shut it out immediately, pointless.
But what I'm trying to pinpoint here, or try to really, really understand, is there even a difference between sadness and depression, you know?
Yes, I
Because
feel like,
we all go through a season where we feel emotional and sad, but it's not enough to tell ourselves that,
That's
okay, this is
depression,
depression.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
What
never
is
know.
exactly that line when we reach it and we're like, okay, I need the help because I'm drowning here. This is honestly depression. We need to understand what depression is. That's why we're tackling today the subject of understanding depression in the youth, you know. Where is the line?
That's why I feel like, to me, depression is really the elongated state of the sadness. It's that virtuous state, that state where like there's just a void in terms of emotions, in terms of like stability, in terms of being physical, because it's like you feel like there's no progress in anything. It's just that state.
Demotivation?
Demotivation is heavy. Like you just feel stagnant. You can't really see, and you don't really see the light to come out. So for me, the way I would like, put it is that like maybe sadness always has a cause. I'm like, the reason I'm sad is because 1, 2, 3 happened. But then when it comes to depression, okay, sorry, let me get back to sadness. Sadness is like, there's a reason why I'm sad. And I know that if this didn't happen, I wasn't going to be sad. So I can't really consider that as depression. But then there's also times where the sadness does lead to depression. In terms of the points where maybe, for example, you've lost a loved one, that sadness does elongate and then it ends up turning to depression.
Right.
But then depression, to me, what's the main reason that really differentiates the two is that with sadness, you see the way out of it, of being sad. You can know that, like, for example, for me, like maybe it's like, oh, today I'm sad because 1, 2, 3 happened, but I do know that if I do this, I won't be sad anymore. But then for depression, it's like, I don't see a way out of it. And it's inexplicable. I can't explain it.
Right.
It's very, very hard to try and put it out in a form of words. So for me, that is what distinguishes the two.
The two.
Yeah, that just in a summary, that depression is just the elongated feeling of sadness and that state where you just stagnant. And emotions are also mixed up. You can feel anger. As she said, like for her depressive episode, she feels angry, she doesn't feel sad.
Right.
But then for me, it can be really like a mix of every emotion, like
anger,
sadness, like every negative emotion,
resilience,
and you just be like, sometimes you even feel resentment for no reason, like really, really resentment. Like you'll be like, no, I don't. You question a lot,
or even hatred.
Like you'll start hating the little things. And sometimes it's scary because you'll find out you even hate things that like
You're
once
supposed
made
to
you
love.
happy. Like, for example, there's some people that you'll find out before they were depressed, they're really colorful. They love vibrant colors. They like vibrant clothes clothing and everything, but then
Suddenly they just
suddenly
putting on
they
dark
hate, they just
clothes,
want
dark
black,
colours,
you know.
I, what
Because-
are you saying about me?
Not like
So
that,
the
not
thing
like
that, no,
that.
you're saying that I'm thinking I liked purple with everything in me. I don't want to see yellow. Black is just my color. Oh,
It's just like there are people like that. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's all good, it's all good.
I'm watching you.
We're watching you, Richie.
Yeah,
And
but
I hear him on what he's saying, that he feels like sadness is more like based off of situation. So I think, and this is subjective, by the way. Anyone can feel free to like correct us. It's just like our opinions, right? So I feel like sadness can be more situational, whereas depression is seasonal.
yes, yes.
So when I'm sad, you can feel, when you're sad, it's easier for you to like pinpoint what was the cause.
Yeah.
And you know how it's easier for you to move forward from that. When you're depressed, that's what they always say. After depression, when it's the healing phase, right? They say healing is linear. Meaning it's not definite. There's not like a stop to when the healing stops.
yeah.
But when you're sad, maybe like, you know, like,
It's just drags.
oh, my little brother broke my phone. I'm sad.
Yeah.
I know I can just like pay to fix the phone.
And then the happiness.
Depression, sometimes it just happens. It can even form like through like, not to get like deep and profound, and more spiritual. It could even be like a spiritual reason behind
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So it could be possible through generations.
Yeah.
And one day you just feel like, but the last 3 months I was happy. Why
Am I sad?
am I sad? Like
Suddenly.
and not just sad today. I've been sad for 3 days.
Yeah, it adds to that.
weeks.
So you even
inexplicable-
finding it
Exactly.
hard to leave your bed in the morning.
Exactly. So it's like all these things build up, and then
Build
now
up,
that's when you know, like, okay, I'm in a form of seasonal depression. I mean, that's where I'm at right now. Yeah.
Right now. Wow. So if I can just describe or understand this word, this complex word, depression is just elongated emotions
Exactly.
of sadness,
Exactly.
of anger,
Exactly.
of hatred, and you don't even know how to come out of it.
Right.
Yeah, that's why. That's why it's like separated from sadness, because depression is that phase that you don't know how to move with it.
You say depression is like sadness's father or something.
Yeah.
Sadness.
What are the coping mechanism? To every problem, there's a solution. How do you cope? How do you come? There has to be a way. I know sometimes when you said you want to be left alone.
Right.
Like, guys, please just leave me alone. I'm going through my journey. The way we always say it. It's my journey, my life. I have to go through whatever that I'm going through. But you, at some point, you have to desire to come out and to win the battle. How do you cope? What are the coping mechanisms put in place to help you guys? Yeah.
Okay, no, go
No,
on.
you can go ahead. It's fine.
I feel like there's also forms of depression. First off, we need to know that there's such things as mild depression, and then there's that extreme depression. So depending on what you are going through, there's many ways to tackle it.
Right.
For in my cases, I can say that there's many ways that I do tackle it. When it comes to it's prayer. I really
Awesome, that's
I find peace in solitude sometimes as well, and then.
Just like hope.
Yeah, but then there's also cases where it's like I do want to surround myself with love, you know, but at the same time, it's like I want to be around my loved ones, but I'm quiet, you know, because
You're not saying much.
yeah, I don't
You just
know.
want to breathe.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes I'm a third person sensation feeler, because it's like I can be sad, right? But if I see two of my loved ones happy, that will
It's
automatically make me
contagious.
happy,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's also one way. And then another way can also be like doing what I love, as I said, like the music, the art, you know, the fashion,
Drawing.
you know. Sometimes like I'll see something on the internet and I'll be like, you know, I can replicate that, but then I can replicate that with my own flavor. And then when it comes to the spiritual being sense, is I think about this verse Lamentations a lot, 3:28, where it does say that let him sit in silence, for God has given him, you know, that, you know. So it's like God does know that you're going through that, so you should bear that yoke, you know, bear the yoke, as it says in the scripture. So, but then it also says that hope is never hope is never gone. Like God doesn't cast off a man forever, you know.
Yeah.
So so it leads back to what like Carmel said, because he said that it's seasonal,
Yeah.
you know. So it does link, because in the verse it says that a man is not cast out forever.
Yeah.
So that's why I think about that verse a lot, and it's like it really helpful, because it's like no matter how bad or how heavy these emotions are, I do know that there is eventually a way out. So I really pray a lot, and I have a saying that goes like, you know, prayer works with everything, and if it's not working, you're not doing it right. You know?
It's true.
But yeah,
True. Can you guys pinpoint at a stage in your life where you were really going through a depression, and maybe share the experience with us? Can you remember of a depression that you went through, how hard it was, what caused it, and how you came out of it? Feel free to share your experiences with us, because trust me, a lot of the youth are dying.
Right.
Like Hope was saying just now, we are dying. Yeah.
I feel like with me overall as a person on a daily basis, I'm a very empathetic person, very emotional and sensitive. So I don't think I would be able to pinpoint exactly, but I do know how to pinpoint to where I felt my emotions were the most intense. So I can probably pinpoint to a day when I was the most angriest, or in this case, the most sad, right? Was it depression? It could have been. I'm not too sure. But when I can pinpoint it, where I know that maybe it was the most intense, with me, in my cases when it was the worst, it's crazy to say, but those times are the times that are the most blurry to me. Because also, like, I'm a person who doesn't forget easily, and I remember a lot of things. I can even remember
Same.
like things from
Primary
like,
school.
primary
or
school,
even
like
kindergarten.
exactly. But like those days, those very depressive, those like depressive episodes, those days, they're a complete blur. So I can probably pinpoint it to a year, or a week, or a month, especially if it's related to a date. So I could say like, for example, I know in grade 11 it was a shaky season because it was a very formative year.
Yeah.
I knew it was going towards my final year in matric. And I was scared. I'm like, oh, I'm going to lose a lot of my friends. I'm going to go to varsity. I don't know what to do. So that grade 11, because of the
It was
pressure.
overwhelming.
Exactly. I was overwhelmed. And I think I was really sad at that point. So maybe that's the closest, or it could have been. Who knows? But like, I feel like that's where it's most possibly, like,
That
most
you
likely
were
it could have been.
depressed.
Exactly.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. For me, this is a while back. Like I was depressed in primary, and which is really crazy, because like people will be like, no, you're so young.
You're
You
so
you
young.
can't be depressed. There's no
How
such
old were
thing.
you?
I was like
About
around 7. Yeah,
7 already.
Seven already. Like it was actually a long period, because it was like from first grade all the way to 3rd grade. And then it came back in the later stages of grade 7. So in the first stage of it, like when I realized that, okay, this is depression.
Yeah. At
It's
7
like
years
I was
old.
I was 7, you know.
Yeah, it's serious, guys.
Like the separation of my dad. So that really did cause a heavy toll on me, on my mental and my emotions, especially the fact that like you're not supposed to feel like that at that age, you know.
yeah.
That's why people believe that no, you can't have depression at that age, because that you don't understand things to that level.
But you actually do go through that.
But you do. And I had a friend, you know, I can't name it obviously, but like I had a friend back then also, he was also going through a lot, right? And I said that like I'm a third person sensation feeler. So like I saw that he was sad, and that was really contagious. So I took that and I was like, okay,
This is my friend.
if he's sad, I'm also sad, you know. And then I mixed it
It was
with
a pity party.
Exactly. It was like a pity party every
Yeah.
time. So like I would take his sadness and I'll add it onto mine, and I'll just like be very, very frustrated and everything. Like, and I was really an angry child, you know. I still battle with like what lingers from that sometimes, but like I feel like I'm in a better state right now. My heart is at a better place, and as well as my mental. But like at that stage, that was a horrible
very
feeling. I
angry.
was very angry at everything, and which is crazy because I knew that this wasn't normal, you know, but I was too young to understand what it was. So that was a really seasonal place. And then it's when I realized in grade 3, because I said it was elongated. That's when in
So
grade 3.
from grade 3 to grade 7.
No, from grade 1 to 3.
From grade 1 to
Yeah, that was the first stage. So then in grade 3, that's when I pinpointed that, like, okay, the reason I'm sad is because, you know, of the separation, like, between me and my pops. So it was like, yo, this is really affecting me. You know, I went through so much, and like,
So your parents' divorce,
yes,
in other words,
yeah,
affected you in
it
that
really
manner.
it really did.
It angered you.
Yeah, it angered me so
Yes.
much, and like I would also see like people with their families, and then like it'll be like the thing like, oh my, yo, he can be with his family, but me I can't. So it's like more of a thing where you cussing out the world because you're like, why do
me?
people get to be happy? Me, I don't get to have like a full functioning family. But then when I came to that exception that this is how life is, and when I finally understood the concept of everything happens for a reason, it really eased up, and I got better with time. Everything felt good. I can literally say, like, the moment my depression stopped, right, at that young age, I would feel like, yo, I was so happy. Like, I've been.
From listening to your story, can I tell that, or can I conclude that knowing the root cause of your depression is already the start of healing?
Yes, exactly.
Because the moment
Exactly.
you realize that, okay, it can happen in
Exactly.
life, and then you understood that, okay, what's actually causing my sadness, it's the divorce of my parents. And then immediately you started accepting the
Accepting that,
situation
and
and
then
dealing
eventually
with
I
it.
got better, yeah.
And then you got better.
And it's great that you mentioned that, because it now does lead back to my point where I said that sadness, you know the roots of it. So like that depression transitioned to sadness. You know, after I accepted it, because it's like, okay, I know now why I'm feeling like this, but now I'm sad that it's happened. But at least I know to
It leveled
accept
down.
it, and I'm healing. You know,
Yes.
I'm healing from that. And after that, I was so blessed. Like I've never felt better. But then it came back in grade 7, but not for the same reason. But in grade 7, it was the lockdown. That was what, 2020. It was the lockdown. When the lockdown happened, the pandemic, COVID. I can say for the first time in my life, I've never been so scared of the future. I was so uncertain, because every day you were hearing large proportions of people are
Negativities.
dying, and I already know that the news is always negative. The news, there's always bad news, but like I've never seen that in such a large scale. So I feared, and that fear turned into a depression, because it's like, what's gonna happen? I don't want to, you know. I don't want. And then like, even if the case was that nothing is going to happen, but like, I don't want to live the way in lockdown did, you know. But then eventually that also came to another exception. And that's when, instead of being like depressed about it, I felt better, because it's like, there's so much to life. I finally realized how good I was living before pandemic. So as I took that in, you know, I graced that, and I eventually got better. And ever since then, it's been blessed. Yeah.
Yeah, the pandemic was a learning curve for a lot of us. I believe that so many people went through
Yeah,
the
it
depression.
was.
So can I say that prayer also helped you?
It did.
Or did you
most
have,
definitely.
at a point, did you speak to like a teacher or your pastor, a youth leader?
No, not really, actually. Okay, but I can say that I didn't talk about it directly, but I did talk to my brother, like, you know, and I didn't really, you know, tell him directly, like, yo, I'm going through these. But he knew, you know, he could tell that, okay, this is not the brother that I know, you know. So
Because was he angry? How could you tell? Was it because he spoke to you about his depression, or you could just tell that he's not his
I don't
usual
know.
self?
I don't mean to come off self-righteous, but I just be knowing. I think it's because I'm very empathetic. I just know when someone's not themselves. It's not even an action. I can wake up and look at someone's face and be like, something happened last night.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So-
You pay attention.
So yeah, that it really helped. Not even because like he would just tell me, but like he would speak indirectly, and by speaking indirectly, I could also tell in my consciousness that, okay, he does know, but I'm not going to tell him still. But he's going to talk to me like this, and like the way he's talking to me is going to help me. So he would just tell me like, man, life is beautiful. There's so much to life. Like even the sense of like materialism, like being materialistic. He's the one that helped, because he was like, I remember like whenever he would lose things, like his favorite valuable items, whenever he would lose them, going forward, he will still be like, man, it was just a thing. It was just something. Like eventually, I'll get over it and I'll be better. So it's like, wow, okay, there's really is so much to life. And prayer, I feel like also the background, like my family background on both sides, I feel like no matter how things have ever went, I'm so grateful that they did introduce me to the Lord, to God, because that background just reminded me that, like, you know what, I always have someone to run to. So I can say that my depression was not lonely. It was
always surrounded.
Yeah, it was just something I felt, but I can't say I felt alone.
There was always people around you to support
like
you, to guide you.
my family, I'm so grateful that like they always showed love, because I feel like to a certain extent they also knew that, okay, no, these days he's not who he is, but they went on some, no, why are you acting like this? Why they were really helpful. So I can say that did help, the support. So that's why my perspective is like, when an individual is depressed, community is really important. And the type of community, especially, you need to be surrounded by love in abundance.
And that's a big blessing, because there's not that many people who can say that they have that, they have that blessing to be able to say, oh, I have a family to run back to. I have a support system. Some people genuinely do not have that.
Yeah.
They don't have any of that. So, like, to those people out there, for me, prayer works. I believe that God can change
Especially
everybody's
from a
life.
Christian
From a Christian
perspective.
perspective, I believe God can do his works in anyone's life. Like, he can actually like change your life. If you're going through a depressive episode, I suggest run to your Bible, get on your knees and just pray.
That's
Because there are times when I know, like, in deeper sadness, like in people's most saddest moments, right? That's the time where it's most likely you're going to question God the most.
You're even ready to turn your back.
Exactly. So, and I feel like a lot of people can like relate to that. Like, everyone has been that.
Hope is laughing. I'm sure she knows better
No.
about turning
Because I
your
feel
back
like a lot of
from
people
God.
can
Tell us.
say something
Yes.
about that.
Yeah.
Like, there are those cases where it gets to that point, you're like, yo, like,
about to
what
give
kind of
up
God can allow me to go through something like this?
Yeah.
And needless to say, it says in the scripture, that's the time you're supposed to run to him
To him the most.
And it took a while for me to learn that, because I'm very I'm a realist, and I'm very logical with things. People like that, it takes the hardest for them to hear messages of faith, to understand what faith is. When you're realistic, you see the patterns in your life. You're like, but good things has never happened to me. I've been praying for years. Why should I continue believing in God? Like, I see people who are following the laws of the universe, laws of power and everything. You find people like that are the most wealthy, the people who are the most successful. They flourish the most in the world. I'm like, I'm the one who's doing the works here.
Yeah.
Why am I not getting through anything? And in those cases, that's where people be feeling that the most during their depressive episodes.
That God has let them down.
Exactly.
Yeah. I hope you were just smiling now about turning your back from God.
To me, I can say it happened twice. The first time, I wouldn't really dwell into it, because it was just a moment whereby I wanted something from my dad. Like, I just wanted him to buy me a school uniform. He kept on making promises and promises and promises. It was a point where I was like, God, why can't he just do that for me? But he does that for some others. Fine, I won't dwell into that. As he said, during COVID, my mom is a health worker. So at work, she had contacted and thinking, COVID. She got really sick. So every day I would pray for her to kind of like get better. But the more I prayed, it's the more she got worse. So I was just like, why should I keep on praying to this guy? Why he can't even do something simple for me? Because if I lose my mom, I'm
Who's gonna give
technically
me that
an
uniform?
orphan. And besides, like, it was just a whole lot of emotions. But as he said, if you've got loved ones around, you will feel that fine, you're not alone. And that time, my little brother was there for me. Instead of me being
So
there for him,
love
he
is
was
vital.
there for me.
Love
because
is vital.
Love
It's
is
really
vital.
And I
vital.
can't say my
Yes.
stepdad was there for me because they were both sick.
Oh yeah.
So it was a point whereby we had to lock them in their room. Whenever we have to
Quarantine.
give them something, we just have to put it on the floor, knock, run
And
to the
then
other
run for
area
your
so
life.
that we don't see them. And I was just like, is this the kind of life we need to live? Do we have to knock on a certain day and get no response because
Oh, well,
we see
yeah.
people dying?
Yeah.
It was just, I don't know if I should say traumatic.
Yeah, it was very
It just
traumatic.
made me be so
You
overprotective.
didn't see any light.
I didn't. Like, it annoys me because it gave me this fear that I live with today. I just can't, when I'm at school, I can't cope not talking to my mom maybe 3 times a day. When I'm home and she went out, if I call her and she doesn't answer her phone, I get paranoid.
Oh, yeah. Because obviously you think, okay, is she still around?
Is she still
Did
with
she
me?
die
No, ma.
or
I'm
what
gonna see.
happened?
Mostly with
Yeah.
TikTok. I hate TikTok a bit because when there's something bad that happens, you will see on TikTok.
Right.
You will see. So I'm always like, will I see my mother's number plate on TikTok? Will I see my
Social
mother?
media.
Like, it's just so. There's a fun side of social media and there's a traumatic side.
Absolutely.
as well.
yeah,
True.
So
Yeah.
I feel like with the whole turning on God thing, that one it got me.
It got
It got me, shame.
I got you. That's so beautiful. I like the fact that you guys are born again Christian and you're also talking about depression from a Christian perspective. You know, I understand from just listening to you guys that, you know, support and love was vital. You talked about your brother being there for you and you talked about your family surrounding you with love. I truly understand that for you guys, especially the youth, family support is number one.
Right.
You know, you cannot be going through a depression and winning over it if you don't have the love and support that
Right.
you need. So while we at this, I would like to encourage family that, you know, you should not let, you know, whatever that your children are going through, go through those things alone. Please be there for your children, your youth, your teenagers, your little ones. We've heard Richie talk about depression from the time you were still 7 years old, you know, and if he did not have the love, you know, surrounding him, the situation might have escalated to something else. We hear about children, little children committing suicide, you know, drinking pills, you know, doing all those horrible things because they're feeling rejected. They're not getting the love and support that they should be getting. So I really encourage parents, you know, siblings, pastors, doctors, wherever you are, check in your households, your communities, your churches. Look out for these young ones. They really need the support. They really need, you know, that love, that guidance, you know, spiritually, materially, financially. Sometimes we don't have all those things, but just your time, you know, just your time. You know, it doesn't take a lot to show, you know, your children the love that they deserve. Sometimes it's something as small as just checking up on your child. How did you sleep? Did you have your breakfast? Would you like to go for a walk? You know, I don't know, Richie, can you maybe just tell us more about the kind of support you were receiving from your family? Maybe it will give people out there an hint on how they should go about showing such a support to, you know, our children and the youth in the community and even the youth in our households. Yeah.
I can say really just being pillars for your loved ones that are going through the depression. Because I don't know, I feel like I was just put in that situation to feel it. But the way my family handled it, I feel like they handled it well. So, you know, other individuals really feel it to extreme, like worse than I do, you know. But the way my family handled it is like at first, you know, they would see these unusual behavior from me, you know, and instead of like quickly going in there to make me feel worse or like shout or scold me about it. They would just be more gentle, you know. And then eventually I felt like they created that space for me to be like, okay, I now know that I'm vulnerable, you know, so I can let them know. Because I did eventually let them know, like, okay, you know, I'm feeling this type of way, so and so. And even after that, they didn't change. They didn't see me. They didn't see me different. I feel like that's the problem also. A lot of people, when they tell other individuals that they depressed, other individuals start treating them like a sick patient. Like, no, this one is fragile. If I touch him, he's gonna collapse.
You see, one comment I hated, ne? When you talk about depression, they're like, ooh, it's a lungu.
Yeah.
Is there such a
That's what I was
thing?
trying to
Is
say.
there such a
It's a
thing?
stigma.
Like they take it as like a
It's a
stigma.
stigma.
They take it like it's a myth.
Like,
Like
that's
black
why
people aren't supposed to
exactly
be
like
depressed.
depression in African countries, especially, you know, but also in black communities, I feel like they take it more as a concept and not a reality. They take it as it's something like, oh, this is an olden plague of olden days. It's not something that still should be lingering around, but it really does. And that's also the main cause. I feel like it serves as, you know, perpetrators of more people to be depressed, because it's like, now people, when they get depressed, they don't want to talk about it,
right?
Because they
feel that they're gonna
feel
get
like,
judged.
They like also like I've heard a lot of stories of like people opening up to their parents, and their parents don't take it seriously, and they're like more take it as a joke, and then like you'll find out when their child is like, you know, sad, the parent will be like, oh, why'd you have depression today? You know, that's how they take it. They take it as
They're
like
not
it's a one
taking it
thing, not as
seriously.
they don't take it as an elongated feeling.
Elongated, yeah.
You know, that's why I say from my side I was blessed, because they continuously cared for me, but they still saw me the way they saw my brother, who wasn't depressed. You know, well, I can't speak for him, but you know, to me, I don't think he was. You know, so like in that state, you know, they treated me with that care to be like, yo, no, he's still okay. He just needs attention and love and recover. And eventually I did. You know,
get better.
it was a rough period, but eventually I got better. And I can say that at least after that, the way I was when I did heal from that phase, I can say that I was better before I was in that phase. You know, so I feel like sometimes there really is joy that comes after trials and tribulations.
It rains the most on those who deserve the most sun.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Hope, you were saying that when you're angry, you want to be left alone. But deep down, do you wish that someone can come and interrupt that solitude? You know, just come and knock at your door and say, hey, girl, come out of this. Or you want to be left completely alone? Because I know most of the time when we go through things, deep down we want help. We really want help. Do you wish that someone can come knock at your door and invite you over for breakfast or a movie?
Like I said, if I'm in that state, come in, tell me what you want, get out. I will decide if I want to come out or not. Because I feel like if you're going to interrupt me, you're going to make me more angry. Because, like I said, I don't know what's going on in that moment. But whatever is going on, it's going on. So, rather come in, tell me what you want to say and go out. If I'm going to... Because I feel like if you're just going to say, come eat, that's when I'll come back, okay, am I hungry? Or I'm hungry. I'll stand up. If I'm not hungry, I won't come out. They'll put my food in the microwave. Then when I stand up, I know where to go.
I see what you're saying. But as the youth, do you guys find journaling helpful?
Yes.
Yo, 100%.
100%?
Yeah. I
Am I
recommend.
Am I weird to going back to read my journals and laugh at myself?
No,
Not at all. I do sometimes.
It's a therapy.
It's really therapeutic. It's really
It does help. A lot of shadow work. That's what they call like. It's a certain journaling style, shadow work. You ask these. They say it's easier for you to write down the questions you are afraid to ask yourself. So you write them down and you answer them truthfully. And you, as you write them down as if you're answering to someone. And it stays between you and what you wrote down.
Yeah.
So that most definitely helps.
You highly recommend.
I
Highly.
highly recommend.
And what about your sport, music,
Same
Same
I think
thing.
art?
it all depends on what someone finds is like their medium of focus. With me, it's most definitely art and like specifically like drawing and music, like making music and also playing sports. I play basketball. And
That can
skates as
also
well.
be a form of like journaling. Like the drawing.
Exactly.
It
Yeah.
Yes.
doesn't. It doesn't have to be
Okay.
specifically
Specific
words.
Exactly,
words.
yes.
Words by
It can
words.
be a mixture of everything.
Any form of
Any
expression
form
that
of
allows you to
expression,
let
like,
out.
it can literally be
Anything
you
that's
you
suppressed.
taking colors and scribbling with colors. That's your way of expressing. Nobody has to understand it.
Yeah.
It's you
It's
expressing
you.
yourself.
Yes.
I think if there was like an exact remedy to depression, then everyone would be using it.
Yeah.
But it's very subjective. People
very-
find
yeah.
different coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
Fortunately, some people find it in. Some people find it in art. Some people find it in self therapy. And some people find it in God, which I recommend. And
As a Christian.
as a
yes.
Christian. And also, unfortunately, we have people who find it in drugs, in infidelity. They
That's
find it
unfortunate.
in that. So I suggest you find it something that's everlasting and gracious.
Gracious,
And
yeah.
I repeat,
Because it's permanent when you do it the right way.
exactly.
Yeah. Healing is permanent.
Yeah.
when you
Healing
do
is
it.
permanent. Like, you never stop healing.
Yeah,
You never stop healing. So once you decide to tackle depression in morally correct ways, that's you'll find out that it helps a lot. Because when you find that comfort in doing what's like not good, that's when you realize that for now, in the moment, it can feel like you're healing, but then eventually you'll see that nah, you really messed up.
You messed up.
And it'll be harder for you to go back.
Wow, guys, I cannot thank you enough. This is awesome. I feel like we can talk about the subject, for more hours, And the sad part is people just ignore. They feel that depression is not for the children. But we've heard your stories, and you guys were open enough to share, and thank you so very much. So from a Christian perspective, what advice would you have for the youth out there, when it comes to coping mechanism? I know you guys mentioned journaling on a daily basis. It can come in the form of drawing or doing sports, keeping a diary or whatever. In very few words, can you give a good advice to the youth out there, in very few words? Yeah.
Like I've mentioned before, I think there's no better remedy than God. Run straight to your Bible, get on your knees and pray. Find yourself a room where you pray on oftenly, occasionally, and just run straight to it. And to anyone out there who feels that they may be depressed or anything like that, may they not hesitate to reach out, and may they not hesitate to acknowledge that they may be going through something, and may they run straight to where they can find the nearest help. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so very much. What I would like to just share with you as a Christian, a born-again person, I'm so excited that you guys trust God. You believe in a God. This is really the ultimate for me, because God is supreme. We may have our personal knowledge, our own effort. The family can show us love. But when we don't have that superior power to look up to, all our effort can result to void. So I really encourage you guys in that path, I hope you guys can continue spreading, that knowledge, that hope and spirituality with your mates out there. I will leave you with a scripture. The Bible talks about King David in Psalm 42, verse 11. King David is talking to himself. He's saying, my soul, why are you saddened within me? He is saying, my soul, why are you sad inside of me? So we have a power over our feelings, our emotions. Remember that your heart is something that you need to protect. You filter what comes in and what goes out. And if you don't have boundaries, if you don't have walls around, your heart, like the Bible talks about Zion, the walls of Zion, you have to build a wall. You control what affects you. When it comes to sadness, when it comes to anger, when it comes to bitterness, when it comes to all those negative emotions, you have the power in your hands. And God tells you, choose life. Okay, there's death in front of you and there's life, but I urge you to choose life. So you guys choose what affects you. So whenever you feel like, okay, this sadness is not going away, it's just getting elongated, like Richie was saying, you have to be conscious enough to say, okay, this is where I draw the line. This is where I have to rise and stand and pray and cast out whatever negative emotion that's happening. I'm not saying that depression is totally spiritual. I'm just touching the spiritual aspect of it, Yes, you guys spoke about journaling, about all that stuff. That is more of another way. I'm just touching about, the spiritual aspect of it. You have to be able to control what comes in your heart and do like King David did. He spoke to himself. He didn't wait for a doctor to come speak to him, or a therapist or a mentor or your mom or your brother or whoever to show love. He started the work with himself. He said to himself, hey, my heart, my soul, why are you feeling sad? The moment he realized that there's a problem, he spoke to himself. So this is just to say that the power is firstly in your hands. You control your feelings. You control the sadness and the anger. You realize that you eventually putting a stop on the sadness to escalate to depression. So that is one scripture that I felt in my heart to share with you guys, with you the youth, with you the youth of South Africa, of Congo, of wherever in the world, if you can learn to draw a line, to have boundaries, and to speak to yourself before even, waiting for people to show you love. Because sometimes you want the love, and the love is not there. So you have to be a strong person yourself. You have to make that decision that I will not allow my soul to be more sad. This is where I draw the line. This is where I stop. This sadness will not escalate to depression. Is that making sense?
Yes, 100%.
It's making sense, 100%. I really thank God, and I'm so grateful. Well, we've reached almost the end of our episode today. Parents, siblings, pastors, doctors, wherever you are, you've heard the youth. They have concerns. They have challenges, just like the rest of us. Even children as young as 4, 5, 6, 7 years old are going through depression. They're not getting the love that they want. They're not getting the love that they feel that they deserve. They're living in a dysfunctional home. In communities, they're getting rejected. Can we just pay attention to our children? Because they are young, yes, but they do have feelings. They are young, yes, that's correct, but they get depressed every now and then. Can we keep an eye on the youth and our children to ensure that they are not going to drift in some sort of depression and never coming out of it? Let's feed our children with enough love to help them function in schools, in society, because, hey, when our children are happy, they become greater leaders for the future. Let's prepare these leaders. They need our support. You've heard it not from me, but from the youth themselves. Thank you so very much for joining us today. We really appreciate, and we cannot wait to have you on our next episode. Subscribe, comment, and share. We love you. God bless, and bye-bye from me, Christel Nzebambuyamba, at the table with Christel. Ciao.